Good evening, friends, and happy Sabbath to you. It's Friday evening, and we are here coming to you from the studio of the North Jamaica Conference located in Duncan's Trelawney, a peaceful little town overlooking the waters of the Caribbean Sea. You have heard of Duncan's Bay. Yes, Duncan's is the little town perched on the hillside overlooking Duncan's Bay. And this is where we come to you from where we come to you on Sunday nights, Wednesday nights, Friday nights, and on Sabbaths, and sometimes throughout the whole week. We are happy that you are joining us from week to week for the various programs that we have, and we endeavor to serve you to the best of our ability, and we hope you are being blessed. And we know that many of you appreciate what we are doing here. We don't claim to be perfect in our output, but we are trying our best, and we know that our programs are greatly appreciated by many of you, and we thank you for joining us week to week. So it's Friday evening, so it's time for another experience on Journey of Faith. But as usual, we listen, we go along, we sing along with our praise team as they lift us up in singing. According to Paul, as we get near to the end of time, we should speak to ourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, making melody in our hearts to the Lord Jesus Christ. So let's join the praise team and sing along with them.
We will begin our praise with hymn number 442, How Sweet Are the Tidings.
Sweet are the tidings that bring the pilgrims here, as we wander in exiles from home. Soon, soon will the Savior in glory appear, and soon will the kingdom come. He's coming, coming, he's coming soon, I know, coming back to this earth again. Where
We'll continue with hymn number 440, How Cheering is the Christian's Hope While Toiling Here Below, number 440.
How cheering is the Christian's hope while toiling here below. It buoys us up while passing through this wilderness of war. It buoys us up while passing through this wilderness of war. It points us to a land of rest where saints with Christ will reign, where we shall meet the loved of earth and never part again, where we shall meet the loved of earth and never part again. Thy lingering moments fly, oh fly, their Savior quickly come. We long to see thee as thou art and reach that blissful home. We long to see thee as thou art and reach that blissful home.
And finally, because we have that wonderful Christian hope, we are marching to Zion with hymn number 422, Come We That Love the Lord and Let Our Joys Be Known, number 422.
Come we that love the Lord and let our joys be known. Join in a song with sweet accord. Join in a song with sweet accord, and thus surround
Welcome back, friends, and I know you would have enjoyed the lovely singing and your souls were watered by the rich music. We have some wonderful singers here in North Jamaica Conference, and we are happy for their service, their ministry, and they are doing it to the Lord, not to men. So it's good to be back with you on Journey of Faith. My special guest this evening, Friday evening, is grandson to a long-standing, long-serving Seventh-day Adventist. She's deceased now. His father of my special guest, is all of 101 years old now, alive and living the Seventh-day Adventist faith. So, as Paul would have said about Timothy, my special guest would have gained some rich experiences from his grandmother and from his father. He has been serving the Lord for a long time, occupying various positions in the Seventh-day Adventist Church at the local church level, and he has also served on the conference level. His wife was here with me last week, and what a rich experience she has been having, still serving her church and still serving the wider community. My special guest this evening is none other than Brother Lawford James, a man who hails from St. James and who has been residing in Trelawney for at least the past 36 years. Brother James, welcome. And I saw your face as I introduced you, and you know I spoke the truth. So, like I asked your wife, who is Lawford James? From where have you come and what are you doing right now?
Well, you said it right. I'm from St. James, a community in the parish of St. James called Lottery.
Lottery.
Yep. That's when you're going through Sign, straight ahead, and that will take you to Amity Hall, or if you travel John's Hall, you can travel Westgate and go around through John's Hall, Sandyland, and you'll be back in Lottery. So there are two ways to Lottery.
And I know the territory very well, having lived in John's Hall, Potosi to be exact, and having worked as a teacher, a pre-trained teacher at the Lottery All-Age School, where I had the privilege or the challenge of teaching one of your brothers and maybe a niece.
You got it right.
Okay. So, continue your story. You were born in Lottery, went to school in Lottery.
That's right.
And you attended the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Lottery for a time, I think.
Yes, for matter of fact, that's where I got baptized.
That's where you got baptized. So, before we get into the baptism and the religious, spiritual aspects of your journey, tell us about your upbringing as a boy in Lottery. Tell us about your family. Your wife had 7 siblings, or has. How about you?
Okay, I have 11.
You have 11 siblings.
Right?
And one mother, one father?
No.
Okay.
8 from my mother's side and 3 from my father's side.
You are blessed. What position do you occupy amongst them?
Number 5.
You are number 5. Okay. But so you would have had several siblings that you would be senior to.
That's correct.
And you might have passed on some paternal guidance to them somewhere along the line.
Yes. Maybe 1 or 2. We were not fortunate enough to grow up together. I have very humble beginning. Immediate family being poor, yes. So we had to struggle. So everyone weren't in the home at the same time, right? I grew up and found that my 2 eldest sisters were in Westmoreland for a long time. That's a story by itself. And the relationship between my mother and my father broke up, and another relationship started that brought about 3 children. So when I told you that I have 8 from my mother's side and 3 from my father's side.
So the 3 from your father would be younger than the 8 from
yes,
your mother?
the 3 younger one, or if you want to say youngest.
Yeah.
And they reside in Montego Bay.
They reside in Montego Bay. All right. So you mentioned struggles growing up as a boy. What are some of those struggles that you would have encountered?
Well,
poverty?
I did say poor, and that means you have to work very hard to...
What kind of work you did?
As a child?
Yeah.
Well...
I am deliberately asking you because I want the young people today to understand where we are coming from.
All right. It's a farming community, and the major crop our agricultural produce were cane and banana, so that the cane usually grow or was planted a good little distance from the road, and they use human power and animal to move the cane from out of the field
to the
roadside where the truck would take it up.
Yeah.
So that, of course, they would pay small kids like myself by the bundle, the tithe.
They would pay you to tie and pay you to maybe transport it
carry it
sometimes
out to the roadway. So you get a little money from that. And
and you would have been doing that while you were a schoolboy?
While I was a primary school boy.
Primary school
very
boy.
Small,
pretty young.
Very, very young. And the banana also, the banana plantation. Kids like myself, poor kids, and young adults would engage in moving the banana from all over the place. When I said all over the place, we're talking about where the banana was planted, hills and valleys, and you take that to where the truck can load them.
I can identify with that. I know, I appreciate what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, but it didn't make us worse, but of course.
Not at all.
It prepared us for real life.
I tell you, maybe I wouldn't be what I am without those rough beginnings.
Rough seas make good sailors.
Right. So, we talk about rough. That was it. And strangely, the money that you earn from those odd jobs is not something that we would go and spend on the road. That was given to my mother, who would use it to help take care of her school expense.
Yeah.
And even buy clothes. Helped
you contributed to the family budget?
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
So it was really rough going.
Yeah.
Something that I don't regret.
Wise persons would not regret those rough beginnings because they have helped to make us into the men and women we have become. Right? Laziness is a curse. And from Bible we know that, David had a rough life as a youth. And then he became king, he became rich, he became famous, he became prosperous. His sons, his children grew up relatively idle. And we know what happened to Solomon and the other children. They strayed. Right? If they had the rough life of their father, their story might have been different. So, again, rough seas make good sailors. So you went to the lottery primary or all-age school, I would imagine?
All age, yes.
Yes. I had the privilege or the challenge again of teaching there 4 years as a pre-trained teacher. What did you accomplish at that school? And what happened after that?
Well, those were the days before we have JSC. Of course, it was during the time when we have common entrance, but because of some documentation challenges, I didn't sit the common entrance.
Okay.
So I wasn't privileged to go in to high school. That would be probably a golden opportunity, but that one fell through. And,
So quickly tell me what happened after you left Lottery then. No high school, what happened?
well, I had good church brothers and sisters. One of them was Doris Hunter. And
Speak a little louder. I think I missed, our viewers might have missed your last word in that.
the brotherhood in the church. I became an Adventist very early, so I most of what I'll be saying to you is going to be relative to the church. All
That's
right?
good.
Good.
That's good.
And
So you had good brethren, the fellowship was rich. So how would that have impacted you? What happened after you left primary school or all-age school?
all right, Miss Doris, for example, I mentioned her name already. She had my interest at art. Here I finished primary school, and she didn't want to see me around in the community, wasting time and maybe not making anything of myself.
By the way, Miss Doris was the cook at one time at the school.
No, you know, that there is a different Doris. It's a Doris that was in England for a long time.
You're talking
Doris
about...
Hunter.
Oh, Sister Hunter. Yeah.
Sister Hunter.
Famous Bible worker in West Jamaica
Famous
Conference.
Bible Hunter. And
I met her, actually slept in her house.
She sing like a bird.
Yeah, she was a songbird
Yes.
in crusades, etc. Actually, she somehow helped to influence my father into the Adventist Church years
Okay.
later. I know Sister Hunter.
So she told me about a pastor in Montego Bay who needed a gardener.
A gardener?
A gardener. That's right. And she suggested that I could go there and work with him and maybe improve myself after work, maybe going to classes, etc. I took up the challenge, and I think you know the pastor too, you know, J.C. Palmer.
Famous J.C. Palmer. What age was that when you went to sojourn with him?
It could have been 14, you know,
So you were a little boy.
a little boy. When J.C. saw me, he said, where is going? You know what I mean? He can't.
That he wanted a gardener.
He needed a gardener, and here was, you know, and Mrs. Palmer, Ina May Palmer,
Yeah.
sweet girl, man. I said, sweet girl, sweet lady.
Yeah.
All right. She said, give him a chance.
Give him a chance.
Yes. I don't know, maybe the Spirit of the Lord was speaking through her. And it was in that family that I got a big chunk of my religious experience. And when I said religious experience, you talk about family worship, and I was sort of groomed. I say groom, what do I mean? I couldn't speak broken language around the house with the children. So I had
You're
to
in a
talk.
regiment and you had to...
I had to talk properly, and that kind of grooming really helped me. Sabbath keeping, I got a lot from them.
Yeah.
You know, so that those were my early development. You're not yet ready to deal with how I became a Seventh-day Adventist, but I might have to preempt that to tell you that, well, it was 1967. 1967.
You got baptized?
Yes.
1967, while you were at the Palmer's house?
Before.
Oh, before, okay.
Yeah, man. And when I'm telling you, that being so young, not exposed, my grandmother wasn't living at the home, so that although she was a Seventh-day Adventist, she was living far away, right, in Mount Parnassus, right? So when I talk about grooming at the Palmers, it really helped me a lot because I learned about Sabbath keeping. I learned to love Sabbath.
And you learned about Adventism a little more?
Yes, man, a lot more. For matter of fact, it was during my stay there that I even read the Bible through for the first time. From
Bible year.
From cover to cover. Right. Yep. So it was there that I started out. I got into trouble.
You got into trouble in the pastor's house.
In the pastor's
Tell us
house.
about what kind of trouble it was and what happened.
All right. The trouble that I got into was what really propelled me into young adolescent or adult life. What was the trouble? All right. A part of my chore as a gardener was to help wash the car.
Wash his car.
Yeah, man. So that I had to move the car in order to get around the car and to wash it. All right.
So you learned a little driving.
I learned a little driving. It was a big, broad Ford.
Ford, the whole time.
Yeah, man. Fingertip, 3 forward. So I thought I could manage the Ford because I drive it in the yard. But time came when they changed the Ford. They got a new car, a Malibu, spanking new.
Ford Malibu.
No, man. They changed car, man. They step up a little.
Okay, Malibu.
So Malibu. You don't know that car. But
I might have seen or heard. Yeah.
And now that they had this new car, they parked the big car outside because it got
the older
one. So when they went to work one day, I said, I want a spin off this car.
You wanted a spin? The younger folk wouldn't know what a spin is when it comes to motor vehicle.
Yep. And so I took the car and I drove it a little distance down towards Paradise. If you know Dunbar Boulevard, that's where I spend my time with the...
You wouldn't have been more than about 16 years old at the time.
Yeah, man. And I was probably good at what I was doing too, because I took out the car and parked it, just like how they left it.
So you thought?
No, it's not thought. I know I did.
Yeah.
Right? But some bird might have been peeping and reported to the man that I was driving the car in the day when he's not there.
Okay.
And man, he was upset. Maybe for more than one reason I could get myself in trouble or, you know. So he was so upset, I thought he was going to send me back to Lodge Yard, you know. So I started to think.
You what?
Started to think serious.
Okay, I thought you got some licks.
No, man. I don't think he would have done that. But he showed me that he was very upset.
Yeah.
And it happened, he showed it for a few days, you know. So I decided that I'll have to do something. This man might just fire me because he was vexed for too long. So somebody told me about Israel Kent. You would know that guy. He was a pastor.
I know Israel Kent. He was my pastor.
He was your pastor?
Yes.
But they said that he was removed from
ministry.
When
he was moved from ministry, he was at my church.
Okay. So he was some manager out by Casablanca.
Yeah.
Somebody told me about him. So you should see if you can get a job. Because Mr. Palmer, I was going to fire you, or, you know. So that was where I broke company with.
So you left?
No, I didn't left like that, man. Me go and find out from Israel Kent, you know, if I could get a job out at Casablanca.
Right.
And it's like I went out there today, and he said, come tomorrow. I wasn't expecting it. And when I went back, I had my nerves, so I had to tell Mr. Palmer that, well, you know, I got a job.
Well, you're a little boy still.
Young, because
You were not an adult yet. Those days to be an adult, you had to attain age 21.
Or 18.
No, 18 came in later.
All right, okay.
Well, Manley brought in 18 in the 70s, so not sure.
Yeah, man, 18.
Okay.
But there was a problem when they were supposed to be making deduction from my pay because my age was a little below. But I don't know how they iron it out. Okay. But I held on to the job, and of course I had a rough time with the Palmers. I'm not going to disclose what happened, but he showed his anger.
At your getting the job?
Yes, man.
So you got the job while you were still living at his house?
Yes.
So you were no longer the gardener?
No. Well, wouldn't be.
Wouldn't be?
Yes.
Because you would have to be out at work during the day. So
Yeah.
apparently they didn't find it pleasing?
Not at all.
All right.
And I am not going to tell you what he did.
You can tell me off air.
All right, okay. Okay, all right. So I was to leave instant when I reveal it. Instant. And
Speak a little louder. I want to make sure your viewers
I was
hear every
rescued.
word.
I was rescued by some relative that was living in Montego Bay at the time, but their accommodation was not adequate.
So you were expelled, my word, from the farmer's house, and so relatives took you up, rescued you, but the accommodation was not.
Good.
Go
That's
ahead.
right. Okay, so I had to, well, let me put in what is supposed to be there. I know that the Lord was working for me. And I had no doubt that he was working all things for good, because
Yes.
having gotten the job at Casablanca, it provided enough funding. I was an assistant waiter.
An assistant waiter.
Yes, man. And in those days they call him boss man. Right.
Boss man.
Yeah, man. I don't even know. Maybe some people still know them as boss man.
Okay. Never
Right?
heard that terminology
So
before.
you're connected to a trained waiter. So you were the assistant helping
Yeah.
a trained waiter. All right. So that was where I got my start in life, as I was getting a salary, which was much better than what I was getting at the Palmers. And I mean, much better. And the tips that was coming from guests was enough to actually set me up. It was much more than the salary that the job paid.
Okay.
Right? And
And you got your Sabbaths off.
well, that was another story, because if I told you now that I had to get an apartment, and I was able to furnish my apartment from the job that I was now doing, and I was on my own. It was rough when I started, because Sabbath off for businesses is not Sabbath off the way Adventist is supposed to be taking Sabbath off. All right, maybe the listeners wouldn't understand. We celebrate Sabbath from sunset to sunset. Sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday. So when you ask for Sabbath off, you want your Sabbath off to start before sunset on Friday evening.
Right.
And you're not coming back on the job until after sunset on Saturday.
Right.
So it was very awkward. And hotel work required that you work for breakfast in the morning, and you get a break after breakfast, and then you go back for lunch. I'm talking serving the guests lunch. And after lunch you get another break, and then you come back and set up your station for dinner, which extends sometime up to 10 o'clock in the night. So that when you talk about a day off now, it was a little rough. But I had made up my mind that I wasn't working on the Sabbath. I did not deliver myself, but I don't know, because Israel Kent was there, I don't know if he would have rescued me, but I was determined. I reported to the Metro D that I wouldn't be on after sunset. But that was not discussed before I got the job, right? So I prayed about the matter, and after lunch on Friday, I went home. And I did not report back to work until Saturday night.
Okay.
All right. I have a feeling that the the relationship that Israel Kent had with those people might have influenced it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was made to explain when I came back to work the next week, why I wasn't there, and at least part of the time that would have been either Friday night or in Saturday, right? I cannot remember all the detail. All I know, I got the Sabbath off, and I was really happy.
Good. So you continued in that job for how long?
Until the finish of the season, very near. In those days, they used to sort of close at the end of the tourist season and refurbish. I got another hotel job at Pemco Hotel. Pemco, that was at the top of East Street, Montego Bay.
Yeah, I know where that was.
And it wasn't long after that they too closed. But before they closed, I started to come to my senses. I said, boy, you know what, this Sabbath thing going to make my life miserable in the hotel industry. And I don't think I want to stay in hotel business. I told myself that because I wanted to maintain a relationship with the Lord. I wanted to be faithful.
As a young man, it's good that you had those perspectives and commitment.
I was very, very serious.
Good.
And as I said, if I didn't get the Sabbath off, I don't know how I would manage. Maybe I would have to go back to country, I don't know. But I wouldn't work on the Sabbath. Right, so I started to look for alternative. Because I decided that when the hotel opened back, I wouldn't be going back to work at a hotel. And if I get fired and passed, I got some near misses while I was at Casablanca, because not everybody love Adventist, right? And I said near misses. I remember once the captain of my area of the dining room, he probably wanted somebody to get the job that I had. And he set me up. What did he do? We have to wrap silvers, and we talk about the cutleries, knife and fork, for the table lunchtime. And we use paper survey to wrap those silvers.
Yeah.
And he wrote on one of the paper surveys, without my knowledge, fold back the paper survey and put it back in the stock of surveys. And apparently know that I was going to be wrapping silver from that corner. And I wrapped the silver in the survey that he wrote on, unknowingly. And of course, he was the one who set me up, so he came out there before the guests came and started to examine the silvers that I wrapped, right? And then pick up the one that was written on. The writing was not exposed, or I would see it. But he knew what he had put on the paper.
Yeah.
And of course, he being the captain of the dining room, he has the power to fire workers. He had that power, right? So when he took it up and went aside and opened it up, and he accused me of putting dirty serviette on the table. And he sent me home.
He sent you home?
In other words, if he said he fired me. And it was really traumatizing because I didn't know where to go. I went in a room. I had to leave the dining room. So that day, of course, I had to...
Tell us quickly how that unfolded, and then we have to take a break.
The Metro D of the dining room is above the captain. And he came and saw me, said, why I'm not on the dining room? And I explained to him. And he just told me to go back to work. Just like that.
The Lord intervened.
He intervened. And those were some of the experiences that caused me to see that the job in the hotel industry is not for persons like me,
Yeah.
right? I could lose a job at any time, or you go on another job and you can't get Sabbath off. So I started to look around for doing something like a trade. All right. I started to go to school when I was at the Palmers. I stayed there about 1 year and 4 months.
When
So
you
I
said
was
to
going to
school,
school,
meaning?
going evening classes.
Evening classes.
Evening classes.
Okay.
And maybe I should just cut things short.
Cut it
In the
short,
Adventist,
and then let me take a break
in
and
the
resume.
Adventist Church, once you become an Adventist, you start to become very ambitious.
True, true.
And
That's one of the things this church has done for many young people who would have otherwise
yes.
gone astray.
So that when I went to Montego Bay to work with the Palmers, the intention, as Mrs. Hunter said, you know, you go to school in the evening and you work in the day.
Yeah.
All right. And so that was actually in force while I was at the Palmers. When I got the hotel job, I had also stopped. But I was going to Orange Hill. That's where I get my secondary education, doing JC lessons
Okay.
at Montego Bay High School.
Orange Hill.
Orange Hill.
Montego Bay Secondary.
Yes, man. That's where I got.
Now St. James High.
Right. Thank you. So I wasn't able to go to school while I was at the hotel because the nature of the job, the time, the hours, you know, the evenings, I don't have the evenings anymore.
Right.
Right. I told you the shift system that you are in the morning, breakfast, and you get a break, you come back for lunch, and you get a break after lunch, and then you come back for dinner, you set up for dinner, and you don't reach home until 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
I used to go to school like 5 o'clock in the evenings at Orange Hill. So that was out. So that was broken.
Yeah.
So when I sought myself out, I decided that I was going to learn a trade.
Hold it at that point. And when you come back, when we come back, you'll tell us what trade you embrace and why, and the wheres and the wherefores of it. Very interesting discussion with Elder Lawford James, first elder of the Alps Seventh-day Adventist Church in Southern Trelawney. And his wife also serves as an elder there. The two of them took that church from scratch, as it were, and they have made it into a small but vibrant little church up in the hills there. And of course with the Lord's leading. We take a break now and we will come back to you. Please don't go anywhere else, just remain right there. The most interesting aspects of Brother James's story are still to come.
He steps out of nowhere, the world in his hands, and hugging on nothing but his command. Then he spoke into being all these things that we see, and in his own image he made you and me. God is still on his throne, and he will take care of his own. He sent thousands and thousands and thousands of angels were never alone, for God is still on his throne. His hands aren't wrinkled, there's no loss of strength, and his eyes never left him unable to think. His nerves aren't shattered, his hair isn't gray, and he still
Okay, friends, welcome back. Thanks for staying with us, and I hope you would have invited somebody else to join during the break. If you have not done so yet, please do so right now. Talking with Brother Lawford James, grew up in poverty, left school early, started to work early as a boy, not an adult, has been having some interesting times, but he is with us today on Journey of Faith. So, Brother James, as a young man, you had the insight to realize, to conclude that the hotel work, the hotel environment was not the best place for you. So with those challenges, you thought of finding a trade or learning a trade. What happened after that?
Well, I was attending Mount Salem Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Mount Salem. So that's the church you attended when you left from Latvia and went to reside with the Palmer, or you went around with the Palmers?
No, while I was with the Palmers, sometime I'm at Mount Salem, and sometime I go out with the Palmers.
Okay.
So that it was in and out. It was part-time. And so if I back up a little bit,
yes,
maybe you get a better understanding of my situation. The opportunity of learning a trade, I didn't just pick up one. There was one that I was admiring from I was way down. All right, and that was plumbing.
Plumbing?
Yes. So it was at Mount Salem that somebody introduced me to Utel Williams.
Utel Williams?
Yes, Utel Williams. He was a plumber working at Barnett Estates. And he was a plumber at Barnett Estate, and he gets jobs because of his experience, and he was a master plumber.
Still is. He's still working today as you speak.
All right. Okay. So that he gets outside jobs, and he uses apprentices like myself. And when I said apprentice, they are beginners at different stage, and once they can go on their own, we'll get an apprentice and put with that person, so that I was asking him for a position, and as a member of the church, you know, the connection made it very easy. So he employed me as an apprentice, and while I was an apprentice, I was being paid enough money to take care of all my business.
Including your rent?
Including my rent, food, everything. Yeah. So I was backing up because I needed to tell you that this was something that I wanted to do from a small child. And I want to give the Lord the honor that due to him.
Yes.
Because here was I saw somebody doing plumbing in Lottery many, many years ago. I didn't even know that it was plumbing. I saw them threading pipe, putting on thread on a piece of iron. You know, I said, boy, when I grow big, I would really like to do that. You know, and here was the opportunity. I became.
So I'm going to push you along a little fast. We have only 15 minutes left. So you learned the trade with Williams. Then you would have gone on your own.
Yes.
What happened after that? Because you are, even if you are a plumber today, you are an educated plumber. You have become a professional. You ended up being a teacher at one of the secondary schools in Trelawney. You would have gone to college, maybe more than once. Tell us about it quickly.
All right. Working with Mr. Williams. After a while, I became a little bigger.
Yes.
And
better.
And better. And I went on my own, and things started to get rough on my own. And when I said rough, there was a downturn in construction. What kind of plumbing I used to do? Talking about building bathrooms, or installing bathrooms in construction, new construction, right? Basin, toilet, kitchen sink, hot water heater, and even get exposure in working on boilers, working at laundries, etc. So I was doing fairly well until there was a downturn in the business, and one of the guys who...
Maybe that was that been in the 70s when the economy took a beating.
Yeah, man. And I was to seek employment. I couldn't find enough money to keep me going, and I got a job with Hilton's plumbing service for a while. I drove for him and do my share of the plumbing. I stayed with him for a long enough time to gain more experience in even welding and doing copper pipes. Even some, I did some amount of refrigeration, piping for refrigeration.
Yes.
All right, pipe fitting. All right, so one of the guys who learned to do the trade with me left. I told him that there was a downturn.
Yeah.
He left, and one day he came back and told me that he is now teaching. I said, what, teaching? He said, yes. And I asked him to explain it, and he told me that VTDI was recruiting craftsmen with 5 years experience and over to start vocational education in Jamaica. All right, and he took up the offer and he told me how lucrative it was in the classroom, and I said, boy, I'll have to give it a try. So when he told me how to go about it, I made my application to VTDI through the Ministry of Education. And that's where I got my training as a vocational teacher. That too has its details that I cannot go into because of the interest of time, but
yes.
The brotherhood of the church had something to do with my getting through to go to VTDI, right? Because when I went for the interview, the first phase of the interview was at the Ministry of Education. I met the education officer, and during the interview, he asked me about my church. I denied my church. I told him that I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and he knew that I was from Montego Bay. So which church you go? I tell him Mount Salem. He said, Mount Salem. Hey, you know one lady up there named Glenda? I said, yes, Glenda Clockin. I know him very well. And when he found out that I knew Sister Glenda, I don't know if you know Glenda Clark.
Not sure.
All right, anyway, the story is long already.
Yeah.
The man did not hesitate to send me on, all because of the connection that I had in the church with somebody who was related to him.
Good.
Glenda was his relative. And I got into VTDI. Of course, I had to do other tests, but the Lord helped me through. I won't go into all the details. But at VTDI, I did plumbing and pipe fitting. Finished with a very good score in the plumbing. And it was the same man that told me about the placement. People who were from the Ministry of Education would have to apply for the positions when they finish. We're supposed to be placed, but only the ITC people would have been placed. Industrial training centers. Students would get placement straight, but people who are from the education sector, they have to look for openings for themselves. And
But somebody got an opening for you.
Mr. Dyer tell me that there's only one opening that he know about. Hardly
And you got that one opening.
And he tell me to apply for it, and I got it.
You got it.
Yeah, man.
And that had to be the doings of the Lord.
Yes.
So
that
Jesus has been leading you, opening doors for you.
All the way. This wasn't luck.
All right.
This wasn't luck.
So you got the training, you got the job, or the training?
I was trained.
Yeah, you were trained.
And when everything was over, the placement I'm telling you about that.
Yeah, and where were you placed?
Albertown High School.
From Montego Bay to Albertown.
I was placed at Albertown High School.
And when you got to Albertown High School, you discovered that there was a lady that you had been eyeing from you were in Mount Salem.
I like how you cut the story.
Yeah, I have to cut it. I have to cut it. And so she told us
it was a coincidence that both of us were coming from Montego Bay.
No, it's not coincidence. It's by God's design.
All right. Yes. Right.
The Lord supervises and orchestrates connections. Just as how He opened doors for you in those jobs. Your marriage is that important that He would have orchestrated it. So you ran into that lady that you had been observing from Mount Salem.
Yes, I was observing her, yes, from Mount Salem, yes, as a friend, yes. And she knew that I had a girlfriend, yes. And
so you had another girlfriend at the time?
She knew.
Okay.
She knew. And I heard her one day. She asked me about my marital status, you know, because
that means she had some interest.
Not really. And she would tell you.
You will.
All right. I
lady doesn't ask you that question unless...
I surrender. She knew that I had a girlfriend, and she don't know if the relationship was still going.
Right.
All right. So that she passed the word that some people are going to pick until them pick nonsense.
That's what she said to you?
Yes.
I told her she had something up her sleeve.
She said that, you know, look, we weren't courting, we were just social
she was very
friends.
intuitive, insightful,
social friend.
And she had an agenda.
Social friend. And, you know, I went to home and...
I'm going to cut you short, but so things developed and you got married to her.
Yes, that was a clue to tell me that, all right, if she think that much of me, that I'm going to speak, you know, let me look at this a little closer.
You put something in your mind.
Yeah, man.
So you got married to the lovely Willett Joy Golding, and she became James, and you have produced together a beautiful son, and we just wish for them. But we have to talk about your church life. We couldn't close this discussion, because tell me about your involvement in the church after the Mount Salem experience. While you were in Upper Trelawney, you got involved. Tell us, summarize it.
All right.
God doesn't just lead his people in secular affairs or in material affairs.
You haven't even cracked the half of my experience.
I know.
Right? Because I haven't said anything about Mount Salem. And I was at Mount Salem when the church was being built. I was at Mount Salem. From Mount Salem was at Harrison Memorial High School.
So you
at Fustic Road.
Right.
I left from there.
And you were one of the foundation members.
Foundation members.
68. Yes. The same J.C. Palmer.
Start that church.
A crusade was held where the Cornwall Regional Hospital is now located.
And nothing is mentioned about that. That I was AY leader there.
Summarize
I was also Pathfinder director.
So you were a country boy, but the people saw promise in you. That's why they would have entrusted you with those responsibilities. They saw the spiritual commitment.
Yes, I started Orion Pathfinder Club, and I wouldn't want to...
You started Orion?
I started it, and it was under my leadership.
Good.
That we named the club and get our own flag, and I've been called back and been honored.
Praise the Lord.
For having started that club, which is still going.
Yes, one of the oldest in West Jamaica.
West Jamaica, all right. So that I haven't said anything about that leg, and I won't waste your time.
We have just said it.
You talk about my stay in Trelawney.
Yes.
All right, and
that's where you blossomed and became.
And that was from
church leader.
1977.
You went up there 77.
1977.
That's when I just enrolled at West Indies College.
And the church at the Alps.
But before Alps, you were someplace else.
I was at Stettin.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was active in the church, but I don't remember having any office, right? I was a teacher, and so was there were other professionals that attend Stettin. But it was during Pastor Housing time. We had a crusade. It was planned for the district. That time it was one district, same district that you took over.
Yeah.
Right?
All of Upper Trelawney.
All Upper Trelawney. And Housen was supposed to be the evangelist, and he met in an accident just when the crusade was
I remember the accident.
You remember the accident. He broke, I think, both his legs. And so the youth had was to take over. Pastor Mowbray Lewis and Pastor Michael Henry were supposed to be the speakers now, now that he was unavailable, and you know the terrain of the place, distance, and we didn't have any transport. We planned to use motor vehicle from church members, like Brother Thompson's truck and Brother Bowers from Warsaw. And but as time went by, the transportation system break down, and we didn't have bus to travel on like now. You know what the guys did from Troy? They walk.
I've heard that story.
Every night of hour. They would start out early to get there on time for 7 o'clock meeting. And when church over, you know what they did?
They walk.
They walk back. At that time, I was living at St. Vincent, just where the crusade is going to be in St. Vincent. I was living in that area.
Yeah.
And I walk with them. Night.
No wonder you are still so strong.
Night after night. So that I became emotionally attached to that group because it was out of that crusade.
So your attachment has a history.
Yes, man. It was out of that experience that Alps was, that church was planted. Alps was planted. And I was asked by Stettin to join a group of older believers to form the nucleus of that new church. And I've been there. That was 1979. Pretty long time, eh?
That's 43 years.
Yep. I've been there since that time. The older members passed off. Brother Jones died. And others. Brother E went abroad. So that I am one of the few that is left in that. You have already spoken about the experience with my wife.
Yes.
How we live in Stettin, and we travel from Stettin to Alps, and we're doing it on Sabbath, we're doing it on Wednesday night, and we're doing it on Sunday night.
Yeah. And
of course, the Lord giving us the energy and the resources. We've been doing that from 1979.
And you are still strong and you are still working. You are retired from your professional responsibility. You became a teacher. You have been to University of the West Indies to do advanced studies. But you are humble enough to remain.
And Michael, I didn't mention that.
And Michael, yeah.
I did.
So you're not just an ordinary plumber.
No, I did industrial arts there, and I could not advance in plumbing because they don't offer plumbing at Michael.
Okay.
So they gave me advanced placement, meaning the course that I would finish in 3 years. They gave me 1 year advanced placement.
Man, you were a brilliant student.
Yeah, so that I did it in 2 years. And there's much more that could be said.
Much more that could be said,
but I want to say Jesus led me
all the way.
All the way. And there are some other things that the church did for me that I didn't even get to talk about.
Yeah.
Even my health habits that helped me at Michael and at VT.
Well, put it this way, we might have to have a part 2.
I don't know, maybe. You made that decision.
These stories are to be told that people today who sometimes are so casual about their Christianity, so many church members are non-committed, they need to know that this God that we're talking about is a real God, and he has shown up and is still showing up in the lives of his children who are committed and dedicated to him. And this same God is looking for people now, like you, Brother James, and others of us.
I would love to
show yourself strong.
I would love to have shared my experience at Michael Teachers College, because I was even the assistant fraternity president.
That's the Adventist fraternity?
Yeah, man, in my final year.
Yeah. How long did you spend at Michael, by the way?
I said 2. I got advanced placement. The diploma course took 3 years.
But
right?
you finished it in 2.
I finished it in 2. And I told you that advanced placement means they give you accreditation for it. At that time I had done 10 years in the classroom. And when they put that together with the certificate I got from VTDI, they gave me 1 year advanced placement.
Praise the Lord.
Right. I wasn't the only student that got advanced placement. I think Alison Jean Barnett was in my batch there, and she had a degree, but she wanted to do education, and she was not allowed to finish the course just with 1 year, although she had a degree. They gave her advanced placement too. You have to go through the rope.
Yeah. But it would only make you better. Yes. Brother James, boy, as you said, the summary of it is that Jesus led you all the way, led you step by step each day, and someday you will tell the saints and angels along with your wife that Jesus has led you all the way. And all of us who by God's grace end up there will have this story to tell. And we will hear some more from Jesus and the angels that we didn't understand, some perplexing, baffling episodes. But we trust God, we trust His love, we trust His power, we trust His wisdom. By God's grace, we will be there. And as I said, we might have to carve out a part 2 because these stories are to be told. Yeah. These stories are to be told. Thank you very much for coming, for taking time out of your busy program. Because even though you are retired, you still, like your wife, serve the community and the church. And both of you, I know, are outstanding, respectable citizens in Southern Trelawney, well known because of your commitment to Christ and your love of people. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, it has been a pleasure. Let's bow our heads as we give God thanks for His leading in our lives. Friends, I'm sure some of you, having listened to this program, will seek out Brother James and get some more inspiration from him. But we are going to have another part to it. But, you know, this is a man that has been inspiring many young persons and adults. And we need people like those to be exposed so that they can help to move people forward with Christ. Bow your heads. Father, thank you for Brother James and his wife that appeared last week on this program. Thank you for leading in their lives so that they could have been and continue to be such a great blessing to your church and to the wider society. Remember their son. Give them grace that they will continue to be true and faithful. And it is our commitment, Lord, that by your grace, when all is said and done, we will hear the glad well done from your gracious lips, and then to have the joy and the privilege of spending eternity with you is our prayer in Jesus' name.
Amen.
And you heard that amen from Brother James. Make sure you join us next week. And if you're a backslider, former member, I don't have to tell you that it's time to come back. And if you have not yet embraced the Advent message, I remind you that God's way is the best way and you will never regret it. Hurry up and become a part of this pilgrim band traveling to the New Jerusalem. Time is late. The door will soon be closed. Until next week.
Where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul. Needing a friend to help me to the end. Where could I go but to the Lord?
money, a job, a car, and a nice house, baby. Just wait a little while. Give me 10 years, maybe 5. I'm coming home. Open my blinded eyes so that I will realize God is coming. Look at all the signs. We are living at the end of time. We hear it every day, yet we turn and walk away. Get ready, for the kingdom is at hand. Will you be ready? Will you be ready? Will you be ready? Will you be ready? Get ready, for the kingdom is at hand.
It's now time for me to decide. Will I truly give my heart, my